We're on the phone with Chantal Nchako. Am I saying that right?
That is fantastic. You got a little French in your life this morning. Yes. Thank you.
I am married to a very beautiful French-Canadian woman, so that may have helped a little. Her name is Françoise. So,
Françoise.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, There you go. You have a lot of practice.
Yes. Believe me, when we first started dating, it took a lot of practice sitting in the car trying to get it right.
And, she was not going to let up, so.
Yes. So you are in the new Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F movie, which is amazing. I'd like to ask how you landed a role in that film. What was that process like? Like, did you have to audition or did somebody recommend you?
Oh, well, I definitely was not recommended.
Okay, all right.
I had to audition a lot of actors in LA and New York and all over the world. And it was a rigorous process, as you know, because in this business, you kind of do your auditions and you might not hear back or you kind of move on. And especially now in the pandemic, everything is done over Zoom or through tape. So it was kind of like at the end of coming off of the pandemic. So nobody was going into rooms anymore. And so that happened. You don't hear from them for a couple of weeks. Then you hear that you have a call back. Then you do the call back. And at the time I was in Italy. Well, I sent the audition while I was in Italy because I lived half the year in Sicily.
Oh, yeah. Lucky you.
Yeah, which is, yes, I won't complain. I love my life. And so I sent in my tape. Didn't think anything of it. And to be honest, in Sicily, I kind of don't think about a lot because I feel like when I'm in LA, it's like, okay, let's see. But in Sicily, there's so much culture and things going on that distracts you from the, disappointments or ups and downs of the business. That's why I like being there, kind of to unplug. Anyway, so I sent in my tape. Then I heard maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, it's like, oh, you have a producer session, which is now when you meet the producers and the people attached to the film for a callback. And then that's when your hopes get high. Your hopes get up because you're like, oh, I'm getting closer to it. And they wanted me to fly back in to LA, but I was just like, oh, no, I don't want to, because you might not get it. And also, not to say it's not a big deal, but by this time, you're kind of just like, come on, it's Zoom. I'm sure they're going to be on Zoom for the callback, which I'm happy I made that decision. And I'll have to be honest with you, Mike, I don't think I would have gotten it if I went into the room.
Really? So you thought Zoom, you had a little bit of an advantage?
Well, this is the thing. I thought about it, and I thought if I fly 14, 16 hours from Sicily to LA, and then I have to go into the room. I'm going to be nervous. This is coming off of the pandemic. It just might not be a lot of variables where you're grounded and just present. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I just, and then you're like, because you're flying into LA for the thing, as opposed to when you're in Sicily, it's just part of your day. You have to log on and be present.
So you've got 14. You've got like 14 to 16 hours to marinate in it for a while, and that overthinking it maybe, was that something that could be a problem? And you get jet lag,
I'm a Virgo. I'm a Virgo. I overthink everything.
Right.
So I would have been sitting there miserable on the plane. But anyway, so that happened, and then I didn't hear from them for a while, and then I got a call while I was at dinner, and I didn't pick it up because I thought my manager at the time was going to call me for something else, and I just didn't want to be, I'm just constantly nervous at the time.
Yeah.
And then it worked out, and I got it, and I was so happy. I didn't tell anybody for a while because you never know with these things. You film, it doesn't get picked up, it gets canceled, but it worked out, and here we are.
You not only are getting into a major Hollywood production here, but it is a brand that is so beloved around the world. I mean, I put it up, Beverly Hills Cop, up there with Indiana Jones. It's huge, and people love it, and they love Eddie Murphy. Was there any kind of, did you feel like, all right, I got it, and then it was like, oh my God, the pressure's on now? Was there any feeling like that?
Honey. Well, it's a lot of different variables to that. You're like, yes, and then it still also has not hit me yet. So it was just like, when I told my mom, because at some point I didn't think I got it, and then my mom was like, because my mom has always told me I was going to work with Eddie Murphy because he's always given respect to Africa and kind of showed his support. Especially, he had a line I remember when I was like a child, I remember rewatching all his movies, and he said, I'm an exchange student from Cameroon.
Oh, Trading Places. Yes.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Nobody knew who Cameroon was at the time, and he gave us a shout out. So it's just like, so my mom always said, he's the one. She would say this all the time when I, kind of started being an actress, being in New York doing theater, being in D.C. when I went to study Shakespeare in Oxford at the British American Drama Academy. So when I told her, she flipped because it's just like, it's a franchise. A lot of people, the business is so saturated now that there's a lot of actors. So I think like for like older people and like people who came in a different time when there was Hollywood royalty, you don't have to explain names like Eddie Murphy. And so, yes, that's when I was just like, holy crap, if I don't do anything else in my career, this is it. Right. You can do a lot of things in Hollywood, in TV and film, and people go, who? Never heard of it. What channel is it on? Hulu. Oh, but when you say, I'm in, like you said, Indiana Jones or Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F, it's a different level. So, yes, the pressure came on when I was on set and he was walking towards me to start working.
Oh, my gosh. That must have been, it must have been like, I would have run. I would have run.
Well, I was running, but my legs weren't moving. Inside, I was running and screaming. My legs were not moving. It just couldn't take off. And I was like, get out of here inside.
Did you get to
a beautiful human being?
I was going to ask, did you get to interact with him at all? Did he maybe give you some words of wisdom or anything like that?
Oh, of course. So our theme is only just the two of us. So we got to spend a lot of time together. And it's so funny because when I was getting fitted for my costume, I don't know if I should say this, but I think it's kind of funny. So they were like, don't speak to him. Don't speak to him. A lot of people were like, don't talk to him, just do your work. I guess it was just like advice they were trying to give me. But I'm just like, it's just the two of us. It's not like it's a lot of people in the scene. And we just do some interesting things. And, so at some point, I just was like, I'm just so happy to be here with you. My family would flip if they knew that I'd be here. And he said, where are you from? And I said, I'm from Cameroon. And I reminded him about his line in Trading Places. And then he cracked a smile. So, I was like, oh, here we go. And so he started talking to me. I kept calling him Mr. Murphy out of respect.
Right.
And then he was like, don't call me Mr. Murphy. I feel old. Call me Eddie. So that was to me like, oh, my God, a badge of honor. Because where I'm from, anybody older than you call them uncle or auntie out of form of respect.
Right.
And I couldn't say, Uncle Eddie. He's going to be like, you don't know me, And so I just was calling him Mr. Murphy, and it was great. And then we were talking about, like, where I went to school. We talked about, he was telling me little stories. I mean, he's so funny, but at the same time, he's reserved and shy. But I feel like after he warmed up to me, he was so funny. We were laughing, and people were shocked because he was really kind of quiet that day on set or the other days, you know what I mean? So it was so funny because he ended up requesting to take a picture with me during our filming. He asked the professional photographer to take, I want to take this picture. And after when we were like breaking for lunch, people were like, what did he say to you? What did he say to you? I said, I'm going to take it to the grave.
Yeah, there you go. That's amazing.
Yes.
That's a badge of honor. Eddie Murphy asking to take a picture with you. That is something I would brag about forever.
And it is also, it wasn't like it was like you're working and then like they were changing the cameras, the setup. So normally you sit on the side, and he said, come with me and ask the professional photographer to take a picture of us.
Wow.
And then just giving you little gems. Oh, do this, do that, do this. He's a master at it. And then we also got to improv our scene. I mean, it's like him improvising with Richard Pryor. That was his idol,
Wow.
So to be able to improv with Eddie Murphy, the king, the legend of comedy and improv. I mean, if you told me that the industry closed and there's no more acting for a while, I'm like, I made it.
You mentioned, you're from Cameroon, but then you also mentioned all the places you've studied. So you moved around a lot. I mean, at what age did you know you wanted to get into acting?
I was always an actress. And I think it came from, like you said, moving around a lot, having to adapt to different cultures. Like I speak 4 languages.
Yes.
And I speak Italian. Yeah. And I think that, and then your friends, you're not able to hold on to your friends because, like, at the time, there was no social media.
You're right. Yeah.
So I kind of, and especially when I came to the States, that was very hard for me. So it was basically trying to assimilate. So I would go to school and people would talk about hip hop references or references about actors. And so I just would go home and try to find it and study it. So everything that was referred to in the day, I would go home, study it so I could be equipped for the next day. So if a joke was told, I could fake like I knew what I was talking about. So it was about assimilating, adapting, getting by, surviving. And I was always an actress. And I danced for years. I was a ballet dancer, jazz dancer, so I think that's how acting came to part. And then, of course, when it was time to go to school, I said, I want to be an actor. So I've never done anything differently.
So I read, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, you did some acting and studied in Williamstown, Massachusetts at their summer stock. That's a very prestigious program up there. So many people have gone through there, and big stars usually sometimes go there just to work on their craft. And about when were you up in Williamstown?
I was up in Williamstown in 2017, and the fun fact is, so I went to USC for graduate MFA program, and I was the first MFA student to get accepted into the program.
Wow.
And it was wonderful. We did a Curse of a Starving Class, which was written by Sam Shepard. And that, as you know, it's a classic American story. Mm-hmm. And it's actually told mainly by people of white descent. And so this time they decided to do a mix, kind of like, cast. And so I, as a Black woman, played Ella, the lead, who was a matriarch of the family. And I had a wonderful time. The director was Jason McDowell Green. And it was probably one of the best shows I've ever done in my life. The culture there is great.
Yeah.
Everybody because you have people from different schools. And I had graduated, so this was one of my first professional shows. I had just graduated, and it's from my grad program. And you have students from Juilliard, NYU, Brown, Yale. Then you had me from USC. Then you have all the mainstream actors. So I'm young, just coming out of school, like super happy. So at the time you had Paper Murkison, you had Oscar Award winners coming there, you had Bradley Cooper, so many people that were there doing theater as a community. And it's outside of New York City. And most of these shows go to Broadway because it's a Tony Award-winning festival. And I loved it, the culture, the community, the camaraderie. I mean, I would love to go back.
It's a beautiful place. I went to school next door in North Adams. But the best job, you're also not just an actor. Now you have a business called Choobiz. So you're like a clothing designer, shoes, right?
Yes, it's a luxury shoe line. Yes, it is, and I love it.
So
it's exciting.
I was wondering if, of all your education in acting and all your experiencing in your career, all your experience in your career, have you applied any of what you've learned in acting to designing shoes? Has that come into play at all?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, yeah, I'm acting like I'm a designer. No, I'm joking.
Awesome.
Oh, goodness. I mean, it's so funny because my mom was a really, really huge designer in London.
Okay.
Yeah, growing up and everything. And she moved around as well, too. And it was the pandemic. There was nothing happening. And I always had a love for fashion. I'm a fashion girly. All my friends say that. And so I just said, you know what? I'm going to make a shoe. I've always wanted to make a shoe line, especially infusing my culture, like, my African culture with the print. It has a zebra print. It has a porcelain heel, and it's a vegan shoe because I wanted it to be accessible to everybody. And so that's how it started. Of course, it's manufactured in Italy,
of course.
my second home. But yeah, there's a lot of acting going on, and also, but when I'm talking about it to different people in different countries, there is a lot of kind of being charming and because everybody wants to feel close to something. They want to feel like they connect to something. So for it to be manufactured in Italy, sold worldwide, so I can also so I can talk to my friends in the States like, hey, it's an Italian shoe, and then have its African roots, and me being from Africa and also living in Italy, speaking Italian, speaking French, and also living in the States. I think that's a lot of acting, but bringing everything, together so people can feel like they have a part of themselves in the shoe.
Yeah, because you have a really you have a really amazing story, and just all the places you've been and all the work you've done, and putting that into another creative outlet. That's
Thank
pretty
you
cool.
So much.
Okay, so
fun fact, my mother went to BU.
Oh, no way!
Yes, she did.
When did she go to BU?
She went for her graduate program for a while back. Oh, I almost slipped up and told her age, child. I would not survive.
Well,
but yeah, a while back.
I only asked because my father worked at the Mugar Library at Boston University for 20 years. So I don't know.
Oh, wow.
He left in the mid '80s, so I don't even if she was even there yet at that point. But.
No, she wasn't there yet at that point.
Okay.
But yeah, but definitely, definitely. So yeah,
That's cool.
And I'm the area I'm definitely familiar with. So yeah, I love that. It's cold though.
Well, we actually have 4 seasons here in New England, so. We like that.
You're like, don't play us like that. Don't play us. We have a lot to offer. That is hilarious. Oh, my God.
All right. One final question before I let you go.
Oh, please.
So
please,
you spend a lot of time in Sicily, and I know you've mentioned, is it Syracuse?
Syracuse, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
If I were to go there, what would be the signature? I'm a food guy, so what would be the signature dish? Like the one that just it's totally that area, the taste of that area. What should I order?
La carbonata. Yeah, it's first of all, it is delicious, and it's made of egg. They have like a lot of different spices. It's you can put it on pasta.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a pasta dish, and it's made of a fatty cured pork, egg, cheese, like salt, and it seems heavy when you eat it, but everything is fresh because they hand make their pasta.
Uh-huh.
If they sell it or make it at a beach side because it's a beach town, so it's not that heavy, but it looks heavy, and it's really good. But yeah, it's a carbonara. It's a pasta dish, and it's wonderful. It's wonderful. And then it's not just the pasta. So you have to have a wine to accompany it.
Of course.
Definitely. And so that's your signature dish. And then I would take you and your lovely wife around because then you would have to go to the beach. You would have to do an aperitivo because it's communal. So everybody's outside. A lot of times when you're there, you're kind of like off the grid.
Right.
And, it'd be wonderful. Yeah. And then you go to, there's a Greek theater there with like proper Greek theater made out of stone. Nobody speaks English there, but there's wonderful people. Everything is made from scratch. So when you go to the bakery, they make the bread and croissants and everything in the morning. And then they sell it. And then if by 12 o'clock before the siesta, they don't sell everything, then it's in the trash. Then they have the siesta because everybody wants to go back to their family and have a good time, take a nap, maybe even go to the beach. People will go to the beach in the middle of the day or be with their family, and then they come back, and then they bake again, or take the rest of the pasta that, they made in the morning, and then start to roll it and do everything, and then that's wonderful.
That sounds like a beautiful time.
When it's time for you and your wife to have, a trip, definitely hit me up.
All right, I'm just warning you. I'll take you up on that. I'll ask around. Okay. I'm sure everybody knows who you are.
Now, I'm the only black girl up in there, so you just say, where's Chantal? They will be like, okay, she's right there in that house.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time today. I really appreciate it. Congrats on getting into Beverly Hills Cop. Congrats on that, and good luck on Choobiz and any other endeavors, Chantal. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Mac. It was wonderful being on the show. Thank you so much.